This is TJ with Tech Made Easy. Welcome to the channel. My channel is all about making things affordable, practical, and easy. And today we're going to be talking about this 129 workstation that comes with 12 cores, 24 threads, 32 gigs of DDR4 RAM, all for $129. You can get into budget gaming so cheap with this because now you can just throw in whatever SSD, NVMe you want in there, and then whatever card you want. You can throw in a $100 card, you can go in a $300 card. And when I talk about that, I'm talking used because we're doing a budget. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be testing this with an RTX 2060 Super and an RTX 3060 Ti to test out our gaming performance. And we're going to be doing that with Windows 11. Yes, this system technically it is not supposed to run Windows 11, but let me just tell you something. This system performs flawlessly with Windows 10 and Windows 11. The speed of it is awesome. Even though it's an older system, because it's running the Xeons and there's so many cores and so on and so forth in the RAM, my kids grew up gaming on this system. And this system has what they call the X99 platform. And the X99 platform supports E5 2600 V3s and V4 CPUs, and there's so many CPUs in that range that you can buy. You can buy a CPU for this that's 18 cores, 36 threads for $25. So it's just unlimited on the CPUs that you can buy. But in this case, we're looking at the E5 26 V3 that's 12 core and 24 thread. It's the best deal for gaming. So let's go ahead and look inside the case, and then let's look at our gaming performance. All right, so really quick, let's just take a look at this HP Z440. You've got two slots here for hard drives or DVDs, Blu-rays, and then it opens up real easy. You just this handle opens it up, and then what we're going to do here is we're just going to look at, in fact, on here, this gives a description of everything that's on the motherboard. It's really convenient what your PCI slots are, memory, so on and so forth. And then what we're going to do here is what's really nice about this system. It comes with a 700 watt power supply. It comes with two 6-pin plugs. Here's one of them here. You can get 8-pin adapters, and so it just allows a variety of modern day cards to run in here. Most of the time they come with this fan in the front. Sometimes they don't. It still stays cool enough without it. I just like having that fan there. This is the CPU fan. It's nice and big, keeps your processors cool. You got 4 banks of memory on this side, 4 banks of memory on this side, so you can throw whatever RAM you want in there. And you got your banks for your hard drives here. You got plenty of SATA ports. Now, on this particular computer, it doesn't have any place on the motherboard for an NVMe, but there's a NVMe PCI right here that's running Windows 11, and so it will run off of an NVMe as well. Okay, one thing that I want to show here with the case, this right here, it's meant for shorter cards, and so this kind of keeps those cards in place. But this right here, there's a screw at the top here. You just remove the screw and then you pull this off, and now it won't get in the way of a modern day card. Okay, I do want to talk about when you get this system, you're more than likely going to change the CPU out, because it's not going to come with the CPU that you want. It's not going to come with that E5 2690 V3 CPU that's 12 cores, 24 threads, and it only costs $9. But I have another video that shows how to take the fan off and replace the CPU, how to install the video card, how to put RAM in the system. It makes it really simple. It's really thorough, and I'll leave a description below. So let's go ahead, let's jump onto the desktop, and let's check out the performance in our games. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. So this system with the CPU, the RAM, and the system itself, you can get it for $129. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more. And we'll go over the pricing and where to get that on eBay. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about the system that I'm comparing this against. But I just want to emphasize again how flexible this system is, whether you get this one or a Dell or a Lenovo. So let's just talk about the specs here that we're going off of. So I'm going to be testing two cards, the RTX 2060 Super and the RTX 3060 Ti. Now the reason why I'm testing those is because I have those And someone that's trying to get into a budget gaming system, they can get into an RTX 2060 at a really reasonable price, like $180 super. Now, if you want to, if you're really in a budget and you got to go less, then obviously you can do that as well. But let's just go over the specs here. So this system, it has an E5 2690 B3 in it, 12 cores, 24 threads. The clock speed is 2.6 gigahertz. Turbo is 3.5 gigahertz. But it has L3 cache of 30 megabytes, and we'll talk about why that's important with gaming here as we move along. 32 gigabytes of RAM, 2133 megahertz, and it's ECC RAM. Now, the advantage of getting these older systems, ECC RAM is cheap, and we're talking DDR4 CC RAM. DDR3 is even cheaper, but these systems take DDR4. And then I put in a 1 terabyte NVMe. You can put in whatever you want. Now, the system that we're going to be comparing this against, this is Jerrod Tech, and most of the specs that or the FPS we're going to be looking at, because I don't have a modern day system, and this particular one was a couple of years ago, so he's using an Intel i9-10900K at 5.2 gigahertz. And then of course he's got 32 gigs of DDR RAM, 3200, and dual channel, and then his storage is 2 terabytes. But at any rate, so let's just see how these compare. And I'm going to be comparing 1080p and 1440p. I didn't compare any 4K. These cards aren't necessarily 4K cards. It's not that you can't use them for 4K with some gaming. Obviously you can, but when you get into some of the AAA gaming, then your performance goes a little bit down. Went ahead and tested it with Windows 11, and the reason why I'm testing it with Windows 11, I wanted to show you that you can run Windows 11 on this system. And here you're going to see my E5 2690 V3, and you're going to see the 12 cores, 24 threads. And what I did is I went ahead and used Rufus to strip out all of the non-conforming hardware out of Windows 11. When you do that, you can run it on any Windows 11 on any PC. And Windows 10 is probably coming to end of life at the time of making this video, about a year and a half from now. And we have many of these HP Z440s in our family. Our kids game with them still. I use one still. Now I use mine with Linux, but my friends' kids that have bought these from me are also using this system. And so when Windows 10 comes to end of life, we'll just use Rufus to strip out the non-conforming hardware, and then you can either either you can install Windows 11 fresh, or you can update it through that stripped out ISO of Windows 11. Just be sure to check the link below. So now let's look at the games that I test. So I always use the built-in bench, and I try to find YouTubers that all are also using the built-in benches for these games. And most of them do it on ultra high, so all these games have been tested on ultra high to compare against Jerrod Tech. I showed you the requirements that Jerrod Tech was using there, and so a lot of times he uses the built-in benches and just does ultra high without changing any of those criterias, and so that's what we're running here. And so we've got Rainbow Six Siege, we've got F1 2020, and then we've got Tomb Raider, and then we've got Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and we've got Watchdog Legions. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at our results and compare them against Jerrod Tech. The way, I hope that this isn't confusing here, the way I did this is the YT is a YouTuber or Jerrod Tech. There might have been one of these I had to go out and get from another YouTuber because it wasn't on Jerrod Tech, but most of these were from Jerrod Tech. He went ahead and compared the 3060 Ti against the 2060 Ti. So the YT means YouTuber, TM means Tech Made Easy. So over here, the blue is the 3060 Ti. The red is my 3060 Ti, Tech Made Easy Ti. The green is Jerrod Tech's 2060 Super. The red here is my 2060 Super. So let's go ahead and look at the results here. So the first one here is Rainbow Six Siege, and one thing you're going to find out sometimes on the games where you get a high percentage of FPS, the Xeons
lag a little bit for some reason. And I don't know if it's because it's single core performance or if they're just older and they just can't perform as fast. It's the gigahertz, whatever it is. So sometimes you're going to see this discrepancy here. And it gets less though when we get into AAA games, as we're going to see here. So here we are at Jerrod 368. I'm at 323. And then the green here and this red is the 26 Super. So Jerrod is 265 and I'm 257 frames per second. And then F1 2020, you can see that these tighten up a little bit, and we got 183 Jerrod 178 Tech Made Easy on the 3060 Ti, the 2060 or the 2060 Super, Jerrod 143, I'm 137. So now if we go here to Tomb Raider, Jerrod is 148, and then I'm 123 with the 3060 Ti, and then 104 Jerrod, and I'm 98 with the 2060 Super. So now we're here with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Jerrod 86. Mine is 92 with our 3060 Ti's, and then with the 2060s, Jerrod is 63, and my 2060 is 84. And again, you're going to notice sometimes what I've noticed, and I've tested other AAA games, that the performance turns out to be a little better. And I will talk about 1% lows here in a minute. He didn't show 1% lows in this particular one, but I will talk about the 1% lows performance. So now here we are, Watch Dogs. Jerrod's 82, I'm 94 in the 3060 Ti, and then 60 and 62 on the 2060 Super. So as you can see here, the only time you're really going to see a big difference in performance probably is in some of these games where they're known to get really high FPS, like I'd said. But as you go along here, it'll just depend on the game. Sometimes, and don't ask me why, this CPU is a $9 CPU, okay, and why it outperforms in some of the AAA games. Now, what would be interesting is if I had, say, a 3080 or a 4080 to see how the 4K games turn out with this. But let's just go ahead and move on to 2K now, or 1440p. And what we're going to see here, and this kind of surprised me because I know I've done these before and I couldn't remember. Oh, actually, that's right. So one of the times when I did my test, and I do have another video on this, and again, this is 1440p with Rainbow Six Siege. I was comparing it 1440p against Hardware Unboxed, and Hardware Unboxed had a FPS of 253, and I had one of 291. I don't know why there's such a big discrepancy there, again with 1440p. And again, one of the things too that you have to realize is that for me to go back and find results for these programs and these cards using the built-in bench, I had to go back a couple of years, and so my driver is a newer. I'm not using the latest driver because my driver is April of 2024. But at any rate, the thing is that they are using both Hardware Unboxed and Jerrod. They were using at the time. These CPUs were like $400 or $600 CPUs that I'm comparing against this Xeon. So now here we have the 2060, and Jerrod is 168. I'm 134 with my 2060 Super. Now let's go to F1 2020. Jerrod is 172. I'm 150 with my 3060 Ti. Then with the 2060 Super, Jerrod is 108. I'm 98. And then with Tomb Raider, and this is a surprise too, is Jerrod is 99, and I'm 113 with the 3060 Ti. Jerrod is 70. I'm 66 with the 2060 Super, and then with with Assassin's Creed, we're both even at 70 with the 3060 Ti, and then with the 2060 Ti, and this is what was telling here. I ran this several times, and I kept on getting 70 FPS with the 2060 in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and Jerrod was 50. And again, it could be that because it could be this performance might change with the newer driver. I don't know. And so same thing with Watchdog Legions. Jerrod at 62. I'm at 91 with the 3060 Ti, and then 44 and 47 with the 2060 Super. And so I just want to show the performance here of these really quick. It amazes me that a system that is this old, and when I talk old, I think these systems came out in 2020 or 2013, 2014. And again, this is a $9 CPU now, and it just kind of surprises me that the performance, it just goes to show you that you can still get great performance without spending a lot of money for a system. And I think this is pretty impressive. And yeah, I'm not going to get I'm not going to get the same performance that a newer CPU is going to have. But for some reason, when you get into the AAA games, it changes that a little bit. And one of the reasons I can think of, and Hardware Unboxed did this, they tested games, CPUs with more L3 cache. They turned the L3 cache off and then turned it back on. They saw a huge difference that the L3 cache made. And the more L3 cache a CPU had, the better performance that the games had. So it could be that the 30 megabytes of L3 cache is what's making the difference in some of these AAA games. I don't know. But I will say this: when you're using a Xeon and these older Xeons, your 1% lows aren't going to be as good as a new CPU, but still very playable. And we're talking maybe percentage points lower, but they won't be. They generally aren't as good as the newer CPUs. So let's go over the pricing here. So the Z440 on eBay, you can pick them up anywhere between $80 and $100, and $90 typically. Actually, yeah, and they can cost more than $100. But let's just take a look at the RAM. So the ECC RAM, you can usually get 32 gigs of RAM. You're talking 4 8 sticks for $30. The E5 2690 V3 is $9. So that gives you a total of $129. Now I didn't include the NVMe drive in here because what people buy for their NVMe drive is going to depend on further costs of the system. So if you put in a 1 terabyte NVMe or SSD, you're looking at about $100, maybe sometimes more. If you put in 500 megabytes, then you're looking at about $50. And then the card depends on what card you put in. If you can't afford $180 for, say, a 2060 Super, maybe you can only afford $100. Then you could get into a GTX 1660, so on and so forth. But to get into the system would be $129. Let's talk about the E5 2600s here for a minute. So the X99 systems can take a V3 or a V4, and there are lots of options in those CPUs. You can get a 2696 V3 that's 18 cores, 36 threads. If you're doing a lot of video editing, then maybe you might want to do that, and those are about $25. I've been using one of these six, and I've been using a system for a long time with the 2696 V3, and I've been using that now for probably the last 3 years, and it has done me great. I do all my video editing on this system, and so the X99 platform to me is one of the most versatile platforms there is, because especially now, and it's too bad that Windows 11 doesn't meet the requirements or this machine doesn't meet the requirements for Windows 11 unless you, again, use Rufus to take away those requirements. Because this is a great system. This can run Windows 11 for years to come, or Windows 12 for years to come. But I will say this much: if you're looking at getting into Linux, boom, this is what you get. I actually run Linux as my personal desktop, and this is what I run my Linux machine on. So now let's just go ahead and go to eBay and look at where we're getting the pricing for this. So if you just type in HP Z440 Workstation, then you're going to get these here. And I don't know why this one shows up, because this is Z2030. But if we go down here, and this one's parts only, got to watch that. Here's one starting at 98. But I've seen these. I've seen them where you can get these for $75 sometimes, and that includes shipping. So it just depends on when you're on here looking. A lot of times I like to buy my stuff from recyclers, because it's a lot easier if something was wrong with it to get your money back, get a return. It doesn't happen very often, but it can happen. So now let's just go ahead. Here's one for $99. Now let's just click on this one for a minute, because I want to show you something. Now this one is make offer. I guarantee you if you offered $90 for this, you could probably get this for $90. Now on this particular one, now I just want to show you too, on this particular one, they don't have RAM in here, but they do have an E5 1650. Now you can game with this CPU. You're going to get you're going to get better performance with the 2690, but you could get this one, throw some RAM in, throw your card in, and start gaming for, you know, $90 and then $30 for your RAM. So there's any way you want to do this, you can do this. Me personally, a lot of times I order these with no RAM, no CPU, because I'm just going to put in my own RAM and my own CPU. So let's look at the E5 2690V3. They start at $9. That's such a great deal. The RAM, here we are with 32 gigs of RAM, 4 8 sticks for $30. Here's 3 vendors for $30 with shipping and handling right here. So it's very easy to get into this system at such a great price. It's such a great system, and if you're doing any multimedia stuff, video editing, man, to buy a computer ready to go for $129, and the reason why I came up with $129, because if you pick up the computer for $90, the RAM for $30, and then the CPU for $9, you're looking at $129, and then tax on top of that. But to get into a video editing system for $129, and then whatever video card you're going to throw in there, whatever NVMe you're going to throw in there, that is an awesome price. And then if you're using an RTX NVIDIA card, you can use the NVMe to help speed up the processing of your videos. It works great. When I was using my 2080 Ti, man, my videos just ripped through with this system. When I switched to Linux, that changed that story a little bit, but I just wanted to show you that you can get into gaming at such a cheap price here. So I hope this was helpful. This is TJ with Tech Made Easy. I'm just always trying to find the best deals, the best prices, the best way to get into computers cheap and affordably, and have quality to go along with it. This is TJ with Tech Made Easy. Have a great day. Thanks.
Now that was easy peasy.